Hey there, this is Karen with Naturally with Karen, and I wanted to share with you today about hyperthyroid. I noticed that this happens for people, especially males and young people today, due to a lot of their habits. And a lot of people may not really understand why it's happening. They may be waiting for an official diagnosis even though they're suffering. And in 34 years of providing coaching and helping people to get optimum wellness and health, I also dealt with my own thyroid problem and many thyroid problems within my immediate family. My clients had thyroid problems. I taught thyroid workshops. And lastly, I wrote a book that was published in November of 2017 called Detox and Heal Your Thyroid. Now, it might sound to you like I'm a little thyroid obsessed, but we live in a time where we have a thyroid epidemic. It's epidemic everywhere, and even though you may not have a diagnosis or you may have been checked, your thyroid still could be the problem. In fact, about 300 to 400 symptoms can arise when you have a thyroid problem. It might be that as a child, you had low body temperature, or you became very impulsive. Maybe your child was diagnosed with ADHD. Maybe there was a young adult, late teens or early 20s or older, that's diagnosed with OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. But whether it's any of those that are related to our mental health, anxiety, depression, brain fog, forgetfulness. Certainly anxiety and depression are huge in the world right now. We all know someone, or perhaps ourselves, are suffering from anxiety and depression, and we don't really always know what to do about it. But if you listen to some of the other symptoms, you might say to yourself, maybe it is that I have a thyroid issue, and maybe I shouldn't just wait for the doctor's blood test to confirm it. I thought this would be a really helpful video for you because along my path of learning, my mind was put at ease, and I felt so much better to know that I really needed to pay attention to something whether or not I had an official diagnosis. So it's not that we're trying to usurp the doctors or make them powerless or disrespect them. It's just that we want to take care of our health and not wait until sometimes things might be, on a greater scale to manage or take care of, treat, and heal as compared to our getting a hold of taking care of them earlier. Now, I noticed that people get, when they have hyperthyroid, their thyroid is starting to go fast. That typically, most of the time, what happened was from the time they were children, their thyroid was too slow. It was really slugged down. They had a time in their life where they got really, pudgy or chunky. And now in hyperthyroid, they're really thin. It's actually almost hard to gain weight. They can eat and eat and eat, but they just don't gain weight. Their metabolism, their body temperature, their blood pressure will eventually go up with hyperthyroidism. Some people get a hot tongue. And a lot of the doctors that were treating some of the people that I worked with in coaching were giving them a topical distractant for their tongue because their tongue was hot. A lot of people get insomnia and they can't sleep. And so if you go to the doctor and you say, I can't sleep, you could come home with a prescription for anything from Klonopin to Ambien to any number of medications, all of which have extremely serious side effects. And the person who has a thyroid issue wants to get to sleep so much that they're just almost willing to do about anything, because once you're sleep deprived for a while, you feel absolutely miserable. Think back to a time when that's all you wanted. You didn't care about eating, you didn't care about shopping, you didn't care about anything. You just wanted to sleep. So we have some of the things that happen in the mental realm, and they don't happen, all of them, to everyone, but I'm giving you, like a wide swath of what happens for people when they are actually having a fast thyroid. Okay? Whether or not you have a real, official, blood test based diagnosis. You see, when I started learning about healing in 1965 with my grandmother in San Jose, California, the grandmothers were passing down the medicine that had always been there. And I began calling this decades ago original medicine because I really didn't like what felt like a slight. It felt like we were kind of the other stuff over there, the fluff, the quacks, the potion people, the witches, the whatever. Because we were teaching that which people had always known forever. And that was, if you know yourself, you can heal yourself. If you have the right idea of understanding how your body is communicating. So if you've got anxiety and depression, your body's trying to tell you, I've been telling you for a long time, something is wrong, and you're not listening to me. In a world where we're always staring at screens, we're always busy, we're always running around, we're always distracting ourselves, always being entertained, then it's not the same thing as it used to be before cell phones and laptops and TV all day long. Our parents used to kick us out of the house, and we had to go get outside and play. It might be kick the can, it might be riding our bikes, it might be, going down and picking peaches and apricots at the orchard. But it was a very different life than what most people experience today as children. Okay? So anxiety could even just be coming to you by way of you just not having any quiet, peaceful, sanctuary time that you need to have. That's why I got rid of my TV 34 years ago. Almost 35 years ago, is because I realized that it was distracting me. It was too much of a convenience, too easy to just come and sit down. And, they used to have an expression, they'd say, they're just glued to the TV, or mom and dad would say, don't get too close, you're going to get radiation from the TV. And so, we were taught to get out. I'm 57, I was born in 1961, and I didn't really hear about thyroid issues until, the late 60s, the early 1970s, when my dad's only biological brother was diagnosed with throat or thyroid cancer. And I'm pretty sure it was thyroid cancer, but he was given 6 months to live, and he went through medical procedures. And I know that he dealt with a great deal of depression, even though he had a really awesome life. He knew Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin, and, he had a great life as a young man. But he ended up committing suicide and killing himself from the depression, even though he really outlasted that diagnosis prediction of 6 months. He lived many, many, many years beyond that. I know from watching family members, clients, myself going through a thyroid journey that was very painful, and it was also exacerbated by having amalgam fillings in over 23 of my teeth down to the bottom. Those are mercury silver fillings that hurt the thyroid gland. So I know from clients coming in for 15 years in Minnesota, and before that working in California as a coach, that clients would tell me many of the same things. When their thyroid was slow, most of the women were getting cysts on their ovaries, cysts in their breasts. I could feel, a lot of lumpies around their clavicle. I could feel more gristle around their hips when I would do massage. So I've done massage work for a period of time in my life. And they would tell me things. I could feel, bumps around their throat. I could palpate and feel that their thyroid gland was swollen. The doctors would call that a goiter if it's too inflamed and swollen. So people started with a slower thyroid as children. In puberty, their hormones tried to come in, but the thyroid gland, which needed to have iodine and trace elements and minerals all balanced that you would normally have in the food that we would have been eating, but now it doesn't have that. And now it's congested from wheat and many of the things that we live on. People live on toaster pastries, pancakes out of the freezer, cereals, bready sandwiches, breaded chicken nuggets for dinner, frozen pizzas, buttered noodles, and that just doesn't really build a body well. It doesn't give you the building blocks. So people start with getting pudgy and a slow thyroid, and if it's been slow for a long time, eventually it's going to just about wear itself out, and it's going to go really fast for a little bit, like a bird fluttering trying to survive, and then, and what happens is you could go into thyroid storm, or you rescue your thyroid and give it what it needs and decongest it, detox it, heal it, make changes, or you do some temporary medication which assuages your symptoms. It calms them down for a little bit. But the lion's share of people with hyperthyroidism, if they don't do something and change what they're doing that's causing this, either detoxify themselves, get the trace elements that they need, change their diet up, get walking, get sleep, drink water, all these things that we need to do anyway, they risk the potential of having their thyroid either cut out, which is a thyroidectomy, or having the thyroid radiated out through the use of radioactive iodine I-131. There's different types of radiation or iodine radioisotopes. So that particular one, 131, your thyroid will accept it because your thyroid needed iodine the whole time, okay? And so it will accept it and it will eat away your thyroid, perhaps maybe leaving a few cells. So doctors, if you seem as if you possibly have a swollen goiter thyroid, may want to do an ultrasound on your thyroid gland to see through the ultrasound with the roller ball and the gel if you have nodules, which are cysts. They're like cysts that have been there for a long time, because you can go from a cyst to a nodule to a tumor. So you can see that if you already had insomnia, anxiety and depression, a fast racing heart, maybe a diagnosis of tachycardia, your hair was getting really coarse, your moods were getting kind of jumpy, it may or may not be your thyroid, but you might want to look into further exploring if it is or not. And maybe also, if you have insurance, go to your doctor and get a full thyroid panel blood test. If you have insurance and that's covered, that would include a TSH, a T3, a T4, free T3, free T4, and TPO. So you could look at your thyroid antibodies, you would look at your thyroid stimulating hormone, and the other supporting hormones that you'd look to see where the function was, okay? But listen to your body, listen to the communication that it gives you, and know that you can, most of the time, you can heal yourself. And that's what I'm here on this video, is just to help you so that you can understand, overstand more about the simplicity of what's entailed with your thyroid and your health, okay? So I'm going to say so long for now. Thank you for joining me. And I hope this has been helpful with regard to hyperthyroidism and how and why you should be alerted, what signs to look out for. All right. See you later.